just kind of noodling around with a little theme that came to me from looking at the recommend a lesson list. Hopefully today I will talk more about the recommend a lesson list, because there's, well, maybe there's a lot of hope next week to get to something at least in the top 10, maybe in the top 10, maybe in the top 20. I guess while I'm talking about it, I'm gonna ramble on about it. Oh wait, it's March 14th. Welcome to the news. Back in California, back to things that are sort of a little bit normal. One of the things I want to talk about today, I have a bunch of things I want to talk about. I hope to get to them all. I want to play a little bit too, but there might not be much playing today. You just never know what's going to happen. I got a really long list of stuff I want to talk about, but one of them is common chord progressions. It has a lot to do with a couple of the songs that came out this week. The others to recommend, I'm going to go into the recommend a lesson list first, because I do have a couple of those songs kind of on the drawing board, some actually pretty far along on the drawing board. And there's a couple there in the top 20 that I can pretty much guarantee I will never do. I'll let the speculation begin as to why, and that's actually going to lead me into one of the things I want to talk about, some common chord progressions. Willem put up a great video. You know, one of the things we had an Everly Brothers tune this week that is an example of a really common chord progression. And that's a progression you should recognize. Did I finish the stuff about the top 20? I think so, for now. And it's not going to be this one. I know, it keeps coming up, but that's not coming up soon. The common progressions. You hear things that you should recognize. And ear training is one of, I guess I'm going to go into this first. I meant to save this for later, but we'll see what happens. One of the best things you can do is have a really quick recognition of common chord progressions, particularly, and the keys don't even matter so much. So when you start thinking about the normal keys that we play on the guitar, G, C, D, A, and E, you should be able to whip through chords 1, 4, and 5. Maybe helps to play chord 5 as a 7th chord. And that puts your brain and your ears in that key, in C, in D, okay, got all that? That's one thing that you should have down really, really clear in your head. And then when you hear a progression that does one of the really common ones, like Bebop-A-Lula. Okay, hope everybody recognized what was going on. I am not going to get to a lesson on Bebop-A-Lula, because I'll tell you right now how to play it. D. It's a 12-bar blues. Just happens to start off with 8 measures of the same chord before it kicks into the second half of the 12. Well, the second 2/3 of the 12. So it's really kind of a 16-bar blues. Listen to it, figure it out. And that, again, it leads me to progressions that you should recognize. The 50s progression. We heard it in 2 of the songs this week. All I Have to Do Is Dream and This Boy. Now, This Boy is a little variation. Oh, I can't play it because I did it as an ear training song. So if you haven't seen it yet, I don't want to give it away. But almost the same progression, slight variation on what I would call the 50s progression. And that 50s progression, you hear it in other songs like Stand By Me, You Send Me. There are a couple, now there are slight variations on it, but it's still, get used to hearing that progression in various keys. There it is, 1, 6, 4, 5. Really important progression to recognize, the 50s progression. The another one, 1, 5, 6, 4. The Let It Be PachelPunk Progression. It's kind of one of the first places we heard it, or at least our ancestors heard it. Is it's more elaborate. in Pachelbel's canon. I really encourage you to check out Rob Perovian. How do I pronounce his last? Perovonian, I think his last name is pronounced. Anyway, Pachelbel Rant from a concert he did at Penn State. Great take on a lot of the songs that use the same progression. And I've recounted and ranted about a conversation I had with my son when he was 15 or so, a couple of them before. But that progression, when you hear it, it's used in Let It Be, it's used in anyway, you've heard it, you recognize it. And other things, like speaking of a cool request that came out, not a request, but something else that showed up on there this week. What key do they do this in? Oh, it's done with capos. Okay, really cool guitar player that happened to be on that album, The Turning Point. Ooh, we might have to get to this. Okay, I don't know. Great album, you gotta listen to it. I don't have it handy here. I should put a link to that. Okay, you got all that? Progressions you should recognize. Parallel chords, major chords, or power chords like just happened right there. Major like we heard in the John Mayall song. And I guess that's it for chord progressions. 3 chord progressions that you should be able to pick up every time. If it's only 2 chords back and forth, okay. Now, trivia question of the day. Something I've played today is tied to the movie Chariots of Fire. Okay, Sherlocks, put your hats on. See if you can figure it out. There were enough clues. I'll be amazed if anybody gets this, but we'll see. Okay, let's see. What else do I want to talk about? I guess I better go through some of the stuff that that really showed up on the site this week. A little bit more John Renbourn of his second workshop from 1999, and I guess speaking of going through the archives, today, Friday, a couple days ago, why did I stumble on this? Oh, I've been kind of archiving for my kids who have asked every once in a while when they can watch some of their baby movies. I've been sort of archiving them and stashing them at a place where they can now see them, and that's made me stumble upon all kinds of things that I forgot even existed. And one was a video from a radio promo that I did. I was about to play a concert. This was in May of 2001 with Lawrence Juber. We were doing a couple shows, one in Santa Cruz and one here at Villa Montalvo. And on one of my home movies that I was prepping for my kids, the trip to the K-Pig radio station showed up. And I thought, you know what? That might be kind of a cool thing. Some people might be interested in that. And if you're not, that's okay. You don't have to watch it, which is typical of everything here at Totally Guitars. You don't have to watch any of it, but you should. Let's see. Oh, gosh, I have IGC news to get to, too. I'm going to have to make a separate video of that. It's nothing too big right now. So, okay, the K-Pig radio promo was something that... it's a Sunday morning show. Sleepy John Sandage does a show still every Sunday on K-Pig, and he interviews people. Matter of fact, when Muriel was here for our camp, she showed up and did John's show on the Sunday that she did a concert that night. So that was my little stint on it, and it reminded me of a song I played a song on there that I have not played in probably 8 or 9 years. that radio thing, I thought, I gotta start playing that again. One of my favorites, El Dorado, is what that is. And, well, I guess I have a lot of favorites, because I was also playing Paprika. So where this really leads me to... Wait a minute, how's that go? Well, anyway, something like that. And those two songs were sort of written back to back, and I think I tell the whole story in the concert. I think I have found the concert video, so I might start putting that up, or at least one of them. I think not the one I referred to in the radio thing, but one from the Lawrence Juber show, because I think somebody may have seen the first time we played Ain't No Sunshine, the one without the Chicago tune in it, because that one was from a couple of years later. And I know that if we've got that Ain't No Sunshine, we called it Ain't No Black Magic Woman, I think, because it turned into us. And if we have that, I'm sure I have the rest of the concert. So I'm working on tracking that down. Okay, is that enough about, home movies? Yes, K-Pig. I hope you enjoyed. It's a very classic radio station that is still on the air here in Northern California. Okay, let me think. I'm down to the last couple things. Randy Black. This is a really interesting guy who just is, and I'm glad you guys kind of got, finally, he came by and did that about a month ago, and I got sidetracked doing other stuff and forgot to get it ready for you. Yeah, hearing him talk about tuning and everything else really is fascinating. And so I hope to have him be here doing a little bit more stuff and getting a little bit more detail. That one was just sort of the tip of the iceberg, but we're hoping, so whether we get him here to do this to talk about guitar playing, or whether he does end up over at Totally Keyboards, which would make more sense, but you never know. I think Totally Keyboards, he's going to more talk about piano restoration and things like that. So I guess I should put in a plug for our other sites, Totally Vocals too. Man, there is some cool stuff going on Jim's site. I guess I can't tell you about some of these things that I know. He's shooting something next week with a big star around here. So keep an eye on what's going on over at Totally Vocals. And let's see, I had one more thing. What was I going to tell you about? Let's see, we talked about Bebopaloola, John Mayall, house concerts. That was it. IGC, of course, we're going to have my friend Dave Nachmanoff teaching a couple of days worth of classes, along with Doug Young, of course. And Dave, what a lot of kind of traveling musicians do is play small shows in different parts of the country, but then also set up house concerts. And it was so cool that Lynn, our dearly beloved Lynn out in Northern Virginia, contacted Dave and got him while he was in the neighborhood, it happened to be just last Sunday, to come in and do a show at her house. She was a little nervous about the whole thing. You can read all about it on the forum. She's got a great story about it. And so Dave, matter of fact, I almost made it there. It was the day I was coming back from Florida, and I thought, I could take a little detour to Washington, D.C. Anyway, but as it is, I was in a hurry to get home because I was getting behind here on what things I was hoping to get done in Florida. I was hoping to get a lot of stuff done. Pretty soon I started to settle for a little, and pretty soon I settled for got nothing done. It turned out to be a week. Oh, except I did get to see Matt. I think I mentioned that last week on the news. So Matt and I had a nice little visit, and hope to have more of those in the near future. So anyway, musicians like Dave and even Muriel, and a lot more. Oh, Jim Page. Who remembers Jim Page from a few years ago when he was here? The guy who wrote, There it is. Anyway, those are the types of people that could come to your house and do a show for us. For as many. Sometimes these things are maybe only 20 people. Lynn ended up with 50, I think, and great cross-pollination, I think, of some of her friends who had never heard of Dave, and some of Dave's fans who didn't get a chance to see him because they didn't know until they knew that he was going to be in their backyard. So, and I know one of our TGers, Chan, from a little further north, came down and hung out there, and have more to talk about related to things going on in the next couple of weeks that are sort of related to that. I actually hope to get together with all of those guys in near Philadelphia in a few weeks. So, or a couple of those guys. We'll see how it goes. Let's see. That's it. Home movies. Songs. You know what? I've been playing... Oh, this is dumb. This is not in very good shape yet. Well, it's getting there. Still got a ways to go. Kind of an obscure piece from a set of 4 Venezuelan waltzes. I think we've talked about this one. Anyway, I think I went through that last week or recently. The third one... Wait a minute. You get the idea. So those are the 2 famous ones. But there are 2 more obscure ones. Number 1, which is this. And number 4, which is very strange too. Or even stranger. Wait a minute. Anyway, goes on. Some really strange things in that one. I guess I'm gonna end it. Anyhow, been playing some kind of fun pieces. You've heard the big ones. But these obscure Venezuelan waltzes by Antonio Loro. They're not so obscure. They kind of got picked up some popularity in the 70s when I was playing a little bit more classical guitar. So now I'm working on them on a steel string guitar and just wearing my hands, wearing them out. Okay, I think that's enough. Everything on the list been covered. Talked about common chord progressions, home movies, Everly Brothers, house concerts, Renbourn, Randy, top 20. That's it. See you next week.